Hi, this is my review of Luchador Hero, Solo Adventures for Crime-Fighting Wrestlers. This solo role-playing game is pretty much a tribute to El Santo's movies. You know, El Santo, el enmascarado de plata, that powerful wrestler that faces off against vampires, werewolves, Frankenstein type of monsters, mummies, sometimes all of them at the same time. Although, there are also some elements from Scooby-Doo, Hellboy, etc. Now let's talk about the quality of the PDF. My only criticism is that it doesn't have bookmarks nor hyperlinks. So although the document is only 34 pages long, it would certainly make things easier when it comes to navigating the different prompts, getting from one section of the document to the other. Besides that, everything looks great. The graphic design, the illustrations, they are oozing, dripping with theme. The font is quite easy on the eyes, everything is well organized, written and explained. So overall the quality is good despite that criticism. Now let's talk about the contents. What do you need to play Luchador Hero? You need a handful of 6-sided dice. A single 6-sided die of a different color for your hero die. Pencil and eraser, of course, a copy of your character sheet, a handful of tokens or bingo chips for your hero points, and a handful of tokens or bingo chips of a different color for your resolve points. Now, when it comes to this role-playing game, how it proceeds as a solo RPG, you have various prompts that will help you represent or live the situations that you would expect to see in the Santo movies. There are also many open-ended interpretations for these prompts and results. So if you want, you can add and take many things from this document. You can add your own tables, you can remove some rules that you do not like or modify them, you can add your own rules and systems, and so forth. Let's talk about character creation. First, you choose a civilian name for your luchador. You roll on a table and perhaps your luchador is called Ramon. Or perhaps Angela, maybe Luis. Then you roll for your ring name or superhero name. Perhaps you are called Mayhem Chupacabra, perhaps Butcher Angel, maybe Crusher Avenger. Every luchador starts with 6 vitality points and 1d3 resolve points. What are resolve points? These can be spent to add a +1 point to any dice roll. Resolve points may be spent after rolling. There is no limit to the number of resolve points you can spend on a dice roll. Be aware though that once spent, resolve points don't regenerate until your next adventure. When it comes to hero points and the hero die, hero points can be spent to add 1 extra die called the hero die to any skill check in and out of combat. You can never add more than a single hero die to a single check. Your hero die should be of a different color than your other d6s. If that's not an option, roll it separately. Here's why. The hero die's result is added to your regular highest die result. This means that if your highest die is a 6 and your hero die shows a 4, you score a 10. Understandably, you want to keep your hero points for very special occasions. For example, you don't want to head for the final showdown against the Super Beast, which is the end boss of an episode, without at least 1 hero point in your possession. You gain 1 hero point every time you roll double 6s. Then distribute 3 dots among these skills, up to a maximum of 3 in a single skill. The muscles skill reflects your luchador's strength, vitality, and melee combat aptitudes. Acrobatics is used for tasks where your character's reflexes, dexterity, and stealth skills are put to the test. Brains represents your hero's intellect, deduction, charisma, and perception. Once that's done, it's time to choose an archetype or roll for your archetype when it comes to your wrestler. Perhaps you are the star. You get a dot in brains, up to a maximum of 3, and 1 additional ally, the groupie. Perhaps you are the spook. You get a psychic power and a dot in a skill of your choice, up to a maximum of 3. Perhaps you are the beast. you get a mutation and a dot in a skill of your choice, up to a maximum of 3. Depending on your archetype of luchador, perhaps you obtain psychic powers. You roll to determine those. Maybe you obtain pyromancy. You can set fire to any flammable object or enemy within sight. You can also get mutations, like in the case of the beast archetype. Perhaps you have an extra limb. You also determine your headquarters. Perhaps you live in an auto repair shop. Perhaps you are using the secret lair in the sewers as your base. You also roll for assets. Maybe you start with a bear trap, a single use. It inflicts 1d6 damage to a single enemy before combat. You also roll for allies. Maybe you have a barman as your ally, or perhaps a taxi driver. When it comes to hero drives, you also determine this randomly. Maybe your hero drive is protect someone, perhaps vengeance. You can also determine your super special move. This is an incredibly powerful wrestling move that you can trigger only once per episode or session. Triggering your super special move consumes all of your clues. It inflicts 1 point of damage for every clue spent. Even better, it automatically hits. No need to roll dice. Perhaps your move is the atomic drop, maybe the battering ram, or the spine buster. When it comes to skill checks, when your luchador attempts a dangerous action, you first need to determine which skill is solicited in this particular situation. Once you've decided how to approach the task at hand, you are ready to make your skill check. You roll 1d6 plus as many d6s as the value of the corresponding skill. Keep the highest result and consult a chart. Perhaps you fail, or maybe you succeed. If you've obtained double sixes, you also gain a hero point. They are just 3 results. Perhaps you succeed with a consequence. Depending on the situation, on the context, you could get advantages or disadvantages to your roll. This is adding a d6 to your dice pool, in the case of an advantage. In the case of a disadvantage, you subtract 1d6 from your dice pool. If you have no dice left, you roll 2 6-sided dice and keep the lowest result. When it comes to combat, enemies only have 2 stats, their difficulty rating and their vitality points. The enemy's difficulty rating ranges from 2 to 6. The vitality points range from 2 to 10. You fight 1 enemy per round of combat. You roll a d6 plus a number of d6s equivalent to your muscle's skill. You compare the highest result to the enemy's DR or difficulty rating, and if it's higher than the enemy's DR, you deal damage equal to the difference between your score and the enemy's DR. If it's lower than the enemy's DR, you suffer damage equal to the difference between the enemy's DR and your score. If it's exactly equal to the enemy's DR, both sides take 1 damage. Damage is subtracted from your BP or vitality points. When an enemy's BP reaches 0, they are out of commission. When your luchador's BPs are reduced to 0, you are knocked out and incapable of pursuing the current case. You've lost the episode. If you find yourself fighting against multiple enemies, you make your muscles checks with disadvantage. You must assign the damage you inflict on a single opponent at a time. You may also choose to flee from the fight by making an acrobatics check. When it comes to healing, a short rest in a quiet place will restore 3 BPs. You can't rest in a scene where enemies or traps are present. You can't rest more than once per scene or location. Each time you take a short rest, roll 1d6. On a result of 1 to 2, you were disturbed during your rest. Roll on the enemy's random table to determine who or what's attacking you. Now that you've made an awesome crime-fighting luchador, you are probably itching to start solving mysteries and punching bad guys. Each session or episode is composed of a series of scenes. A scene starts when you enter a location and ends when you leave. Pretty straightforward. The intro scene always takes place in your headquarters. Your luchador gets contacted by their ally or allies, who inform them of a danger looming over Muscle City. You then roll on the Rumors and Adventure Sparks table. The result also tells you where you want to start your investigation. I'm going to avoid spoilers when it comes to these Rumors and Adventure Sparks. Suffice to say, they have to do with defeating villains, uncovering clues, carrying out meticulous investigations, and arriving at strange or even common locations. There are many enemies and locations. Perhaps you have to go to the casino or the dark alley. When it comes to enemies, perhaps you need to fight Piñata Head or Cactus Goblin. Tasks represent obstacles you face during investigation scenes that aren't enemies. Unlike combat, failed skill checks against tasks don't cause damage to your character. However, failing a task immediately puts an end to the scene. Add one failed scene to your character sheet. If that's your fourth failure, you have lost the episode. Thematically, this represents your hero losing ground in their pursuit of the Super Beast, and eventually being unable to stop their evil plans in time. If you want to spice things up or add details to your scenes, feel free to use the included table each time you enter a new scene. This is a special table for special conditions. Or every 2 scenes, it's your game, after all. Play however makes you happy. These special conditions effectively make each scene more challenging, so it could be considered a bit like hard mode. I highly recommend that you employ these special conditions because I think the game would be too easy otherwise. When it comes to collecting clues, this is an essential part of playing an episode of Luchador Hero. Obtaining as many clues as possible is capital in order to stand a chance against the final boss, aka the Super Beast. This is because of your special move. It is powered by your clues. You also have a table to determine the investigation checks, and you even have some tips on how to face off against the Super Beast. There are also additional details when it comes to adjusting the difficulty level further. I highly recommend that you play it on hard mode. This is very fun. And when it comes to the progression, the leveling up of your luchador. And this concludes this review. What do I think of Luchador Hero? My highest recommendation. The only weakness of this solo RPG is that after perhaps 6 or more sessions, you will feel like the prompts are getting a bit repetitive, but there's no problem. You either use some other sets of tables, you come up with various elements to randomize the entire result, or perhaps you can combine the different prompts in order to get a new scene every time. The game is thematic, the task resolution is simple, and if you want to complicate things or add a bit of extra complexity, this is fully compatible with any other Game Master emulator, Oracle, tables. This is a standalone solo game, so you will have no shortage of ideas. You could play this all your life, as long as you are a fan of El Santo, Blue Demon, Hellboy or Scooby-Doo, you will have no shortage of adventure seeds and prompts. Next week, I'm going to try to bring out the first part of the multiplayer version of this RPG. Definitely check it out. So once again, my highest recommendation, get Luchador Hero. Thank you for watching my review, and thank you for your likes and your comments. If you have any questions or comments, please let me know. And thank you so much to those of you that are going the extra mile to support the channel. If anyone else wishes to further support the channel, the information on how to do that will be in the description below. This has been Abraham L. Jaguar, a professional game master. If you want me to run a game for you, please check out the pinned comment below. And remember, it is better to roleplay and fail in character than not to roleplay and fail as a player. Once again, thank you, and see you later.